To another Velocity Lending Mortgage Minute. Today I want to talk about loan modifications and particularly whether or not you can refinance out of a loan modification. So there's a lot of confusion around this. As many of us remember, between 2007, 2008, there was a major financial crisis, and a lot of it was driven by the mortgage market, and people, because of a confluence of events in the economy, just simply couldn't afford their mortgages any longer, or potentially there were some elements of the mortgage products themselves that people were struggling with and having trouble. So there were a lot of adjustable rate mortgages, there were a lot of teaser rates, there were a lot of balloons that were out there, just really complex mortgage products that were out there, and people got into them and just didn't really understand what was going on. So for a variety of reasons, a lot of people got into trouble paying their monthly mortgage payment. And as a result, because it was just catastrophic and it was so just broad-based, the government, and particularly Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, came out with, again, broad stroke loan modification products that allowed a lot of borrowers to get into a loan modification and be able to save their home. What people are finding out now, a lot of those people are still in those loan modifications. In a lot of cases, they were really good deals, but there are some things that now, 10 years or so later, are beginning to change and adjust within those loan modifications. So people are starting to ask questions about refinancing the loan modifications. So I wanted to clear up a little bit of confusion there. So first and foremost, you can certainly refinance a loan modification if the circumstances are right. So one in particular, you would want to look at that loan modification and look at the details of it, because sometimes there can be very particular specifications within that mortgage instrument itself. So I would take a look at that first and foremost to see if there's any nuances there to refinancing or getting another mortgage or getting a mortgage subsequent to a past loan modifications. But generally, the specifications of those loan modifications say that if you want to refinance the loan modification, you simply have to have a record of 12 good loan payments. So a lender who's going to potentially refinance this loan modification wants to make sure that you've had a solid year of good, consistent loan payments. So they want to make sure that you're going to continue to pay well on your subsequent mortgage, of course, of which you will have to qualify for. But specific to a loan modification, they want to see 12 good, consistent, so basically a year long of good, consistent, on-time mortgage payments. If you're looking to do a subsequent loan, so maybe you're looking to purchase a second home, a vacation home, an investment property, or you just want to get a new mortgage, and for whatever reason you no longer have this loan modification, but you did one in the past, lenders will often look, because they'll be able to see that on the credit report, because it'll be reported as a loan modification. But they'll be looking for 24 months of good, solid, consistent, on-time mortgage payments. So those are really the only two time constraints. So unlike a foreclosure or bankruptcy, there's not per se a time limit until you can get a new loan or refinance. It's literally, they just want to make sure that after the loan modification or during the loan modification that you currently have, you've just been making good, consistent mortgage payments. So much like any other loan. So for the most part, there's nothing really special about getting qualified to refinance a loan modification or getting a subsequent loan after a loan modification. But of course, they will look for that. So the second thing that you have to consider is, just like any other refinance, does it make sense for you? So again, I would encourage you to go back to or work with your loan officer to work through whether or not, and of course, we as mortgage brokers, as loan officers, as licensed loan officers, are required to only give you a new mortgage if it's a financial benefit, right? If there's some benefit to it. So you don't really have to worry about having that conversation, but it's good to have an expert go over that scenario with you, because they can, they do this every day, so they can look at the nuances of the loan modification, make sure it all makes sense, and you can feel confident that we as licensed loan officers are required to only give you a refinance if it makes financial sense and there is a benefit to you. So having said that, as just kind of a general disclosure and caveat, making you feel comfortable going into that conversation, it is important because a lot of these loan modifications are really good deals. So I've talked to a lot of people where the loan modification that they have or the mortgage that they have now makes all the sense in the world. And I just tell them, hey, you should just go with that if that's your particular goals and your particular circumstances. And in most cases, those are like 40-year loans, and they have a really, really low interest rate and a really, really low payment. So if your financial goals are no different than to just for the next 40 years pay off that mortgage over time, or maybe you're going to sell the property later, and that mortgage isn't more than the value of your home, which for most cases the value of the homes are actually moving in a much quicker pace upward than interest rates are. So you're probably in pretty good shape there. But a lot of people are interested in, one, peace of mind, getting rid of that 40-year loan, because at some point, 40 years is a long time. So no matter how old you are, there's a good chance that in 40 years, you're going to be close to retirement. You might not want to have a mortgage payment. So that's one reason to potentially refinance that mortgage. The other thing is a lot of these loan modifications have a period of time at which the interest rate will adjust upward. And so anywhere from 7 to 10 years later, a lot of those are getting to, if they do have that caveat in there, there's a good chance, and we've run into a few of these with clients, where they wanted to refinance them because the interest rate was getting ready to adjust much higher than it had been. So again, that is another real good advantage for having a loan officer take a look at what your current mortgage is and what that loan modification is, and make sure there's no little weird caveats there that could give you a real surprise in your payment. So again, this is a really good time to have this review because, again, interest rates are super, super low. We're required by law to make sure that the only time that we would refinance is if it gives you a material financial advantage in meeting your financial goals. And so it's just a really good time if you've had that loan modification, you haven't taken it out and looked at it for a while, take that out. Put it in front of a loan officer. We'd be happy to do that for you at Velocity Lending. That's what we do. And let us take a look with you and see if potentially there's a better mortgage for you at this stage in time and the market and considering your financial goals than maybe the loan modification that you did some 7 or 10 years ago. So it's just good practice every so often to take a look at your mortgage and make sure you're in the very best product at the very best rate at any particular time. So loan modifications, again, we're starting to see and hear a lot of questions from our clients about loan modifications specifically. And this, like I said, is a perfect time to have a loan officer review that with you and see if you should be in a different type of mortgage at this point in your financial picture and goal set. So thanks again for joining me with the Velocity Lending Mortgage Minute. Join me for others or check out more information about what we do and offer and all the educational materials that we provide on velocitylending.com.